After our previous video about installing BTT-Writer on macOS, we got a request to show how to install it on Ubuntu Linux. Now, I use BTT-Writer on Linux, but not on Ubuntu, so I installed Ubuntu on this virtual machine, and we'll go through the steps together. The first step, of course, is to download BTT-Writer. If you go to GitHub and go to Bible Translation Tools, that's with dashes in between, BTT-Writer Desktop is there. You can also just search GitHub for BTT-Writer Desktop, and it'll take you to the project. Or, of course, you can go to the normal places, BibleTranslationTools.org, Bible in every language. That'll point you in the right direction. In this case, we have a new release, only 23 hours ago, less than a day old. And because this is Linux, I'm going to download the top one here. So I'm going to download that into my downloads folder. Okay, the download is finished. If this was not a zip file, I would probably just click on it right here. I'm using Brave as my web browser, and when I do that, it opens what I downloaded. Since that would open it in the archive manager, that's not actually what I want. So I'm going to show it in the folder. I'm going to right-click on the archive and say Extract Here. And it takes a couple of moments for it to finish. And now I can open this up. There's the BTT-Writer folder, and here's the BTT-Writer application. Now I can just run it directly from here. However, it'll give me an error. It'll tell me that Git is not installed. Now I could have installed Git before downloading BTT-Writer and before trying to run it. That does work. I just wanted to show you the error in case you don't do that. So for me, the easiest way to install Git is to come here to the terminal. I'm going to use the sudo command, which will allow me to do the next command as a super user. And I'm going to say apt install git. I have to put in the password for my account that has admin access. It's going to ask me if I want to install those particular programs. The default is yes, so I can just hit enter. And then it's going to take a little while to download Git and the various other pieces of software that are necessary in order to run Git. Alright, so now if I come back here and I run BTT-Writer, you can see that it works. Now this is not the most convenient way to run BTT-Writer, digging into this folder and so on. So the next step is to add what we call a desktop file to help me run it more conveniently. In order to have a nice way to launch the program, we need what's called a desktop file. In order to start that, I'm going to go to the applications here and open the text editor. The text editor is going to allow me to make a document that's just text. I don't want any formatting, anything like that. And it starts with a bracket and then desktop entry. This tells the text document that what follows is part of information for launching this program, basically from the desktop. Since I've started, I can save this, and I can actually save it to my desktop. And I'm going to go ahead and call it BTT-Writer.desktop. And so you can see that the name is up here now. Okay, so what else does this need? Well, we need a type. The type is going to be application. The name is BTT-Writer. And you can put anything here. I can put parentheses. Pretty much anything you want. Comment is not needed, but if you want one, now here's where it gets more important. If we look back here at where the program is, up here it tells me that it's located in my home folder, in the downloads folder, in a BTT-Writer, etc., etc., etc. folder, in a BTT-Writer folder. Now I can go ahead and keep that, and if I do Control-L on my keyboard, I'll even be able to see the whole thing and copy it. But I have found that I usually prefer it to be somewhere else. And so I'm going to show you how I set up my desktop file. You can set up yours the way you want. So for path, my version of BTT-Writer is always located in the /opt folder /BTT-Writer folder. So getting it there is going to be a little bit tricky. Here we have the BTT-Writer folder part, so that's okay. I can just move this folder into the /opt folder. But in order to do that, I'm going to need super user permissions. Now there are a couple of ways that I can do that. I can use the terminal like this. And so now I can say sudo mv for move BTT-Writer, and I just hit tab there to have it finish the name, and then /opt/. Put in my password, and it moves it for me. You can also open the File Explorer as an administrator user, and then you can drag it over. I think this way is probably easier. Now, if I come here to opt, I can see that there's my folder. So that's the path. And then exec, this is what the computer is going to try to execute or run when I run the desktop file. So that's opt, again, BTT-Writer, and then /BTT-Writer. That's because this is the opt folder. This is a folder called BTT-Writer, and then the program is actually also called BTT-Writer, but it's inside there. So that's why I have all of that. Finally, I'm going to say I want to have an icon for this so that I can recognize it easily. And the icon should be in this resources folder, in the app folder, in the icons folder, and iconbig.png is the one that I'm going to use. So I'm going to say /opt/BTT-Writer /resources/app/icons/ okay, so each of those slashes means that I'm going inside a directory. Now icon-big.png is the actual icon itself. Now, if all of this is a little bit scary for you, the good news is we actually have a desktop file here, and it doesn't have all of the information in it, but it does have some basics and some instructions on how to fill it in. So the last couple of things, terminal gets set to false, that means that this is a program that's not going to run in the terminal. It's going to have a graphic user interface. And then categories, translation, languages. You could, put education there if that's something you want it to sort under. Basically, these have to be categories that are used by the operating system, and then it'll help you find them here in the application picker. So let's go ahead and save that desktop file. And the last piece then is to install the desktop file. If you'll remember, it was on my desktop, so I'm going to change directory to my home directory and then the desktop directory that's in my home directory. Then I'm going to say desktop-file-install BTT-Writer desktop. And you can see I made it lowercase, so when I type it, I have to do it lowercase. Okay, you can see I got an error. That's because I didn't use sudo, and it's trying to install it into a protected folder. So I need to better use sudo, and now it should be installed. So now if I come to my applications and start typing BTT, there it is. If I click on that icon, it loaded right up. I've got my special icon in the sidebar here because I added that icon information to the desktop file. And if I right click here, I can add it to my favorites so that when I quit BTT-Writer, it's right here in my dock to be started just by clicking once. Oh, here's a copy of it here too. And I need to allow executing it as a program. Oh. Allow launching. There's some differences between my Ubuntu Mint and Linux Mint and the Ubuntu version of Linux. Anyway, this should be pretty similar no matter what version of Linux you're using. If you want specific hints on how to do it for a different version, I can make a shorter video that talks about those differences. And if you have any other questions, you can always contact us. helpdesk@techadvancement.com is the help desk email address. We're also on Telegram, and you can also leave comments for the video below. Thanks for watching.